Zwift plays. How much time do they buy you? I'm not going to bother doing a review. Everyone knows pretty much everything about them. There are plenty of other videos about that. This is trying to work out how much time can you buy on Zwift. I'm not talking about the drop shops or anything, but actual physical money. Now, the best test for this is the Alpe because of the amount of turns, hairpins, and also the fact that you're not going to be drafting, which removes a big factor. The method of testing for this was that I set up two computers, sort of a little bit complicated because I had a remote desktop using the companion app in the shed, which is pretty cool. Another video I could possibly make. But for those who are wondering, yes, as long as you're on the same Wi-Fi network, you can actually have a computer in the shed. I mean, you can actually be in one room using the companion app to ride it with a computer in a completely other room, as long as the Wi-Fi connection is correct. And then I used a remote desktop setup to then capture the image. But enough of that. As you can see here, my free account that I have set up, the equipment I have is pretty basic. So I've gone with the standard Zwift carbon bike and the standard Zwift wheels on both, set my weight, and also at the beginning I had my FTP a little bit different, but I set my FTP the same for both. So you can see on the graph that there's no dropouts or anything. That was the biggest issue I had, was actually hoping that I wouldn't get a dropout, because usually I use Bluetooth on my computer, but one of them had to use Bluetooth on the companion app and App Plus on the computer. But everything went well. But the question is, how much time can you actually buy? The answer is it depends, but the distance is going to be always the same if I am correct, which is not that often. But theoretically, if you're going at different speeds, you can be doing 7 watts per kilo, you can be doing 2 watts a kilo, the distance you're going to save at the top is going to be the same. So what did I come up with? Well, we can have a quick look at the difference first of where I was able to save quite a lot of time or distance compared to the default rider. So I'll throw up some instances here in the recording. The end difference is, now I can't be exact because I had to keep jumping from screens to screens, but from my guesstimation is 170 meters less distance. Keep in mind, now you might, for the eagle-eyed, you might be able to see the riders have slightly different distances on their displayed, but that was because I couldn't start from exactly the same spot, and so the steering rider got to catch up to the non-steering rider through drafting on the descent through the jungle, so they actually had an extra 50 meters or something difference. You can see on this screen. That's then, but then by the end, obviously the obvious thing to see is as I cross the line and then jump back to the non-steering rider, you can see that they've got 160 odd meters. So I say 170 when I went across the line. And now at that speed, which a lot of people actually would do for the Alpe, that was about 49, 50 seconds in saving, which is quite significant really when you look at the difference with bike equipment that you can get. Looking at the Zwift Insider website, bearing in mind that this was done at a higher wattage, so the times are going to be slightly different, but I say 50 seconds on the climb with the steering, and I'm not perfect. If I chose the fastest bike and the fastest climbing wheels, I would have saved 32 seconds at the prescribed pace. I think it's 250 watts at 70 kilos or something. So you're doubling the advantage you get for the climb. Is that worth buying Zwift Plays? Probably not. Most people could probably get that extra performance just from training a little bit better, pacing a little bit better, eating a little bit better. But if you're at the very top and you have nothing else left, that's a pretty low-hanging fruit. And everyone's income is different. For some people, that's a ridiculous amount of money to spend. For others, it's literally just pocket change. So for them, this is definitely a bit of a no-brainer. But in terms of the circumstances, how often will you be able to buy this performance game? Obviously in TTs and team time trials, this is something that you can take a massive advantage of. And in team time trials, especially if you can, I'm not sure exactly what the time frame, what the time savings are. It depends on the course. Anyone who knows geometry knows that the Alpe has a lot of switchbacks that you turn back on yourself. So the distance gained is obviously far greater than a 90-degree turn or a 30-degree turn. And in Zwift, most of the courses don't have switchbacks, very few. So something like Tempest Fugit, you're going to save probably like 20 meters or something, maybe 30 meters at the most. And at the speeds you're traveling, that's maybe 1-2 seconds. I don't know. Someone else do the math for me. So yeah, but in races where you're drafting, it can mean you can rest. If you go around a hairpin, I have done this on some races, and you see if you can cut the corner. Now, this didn't used to be such an advantage when Pack Dynamics 3.0 existed. But with Pack Dynamics 4, where you have a sticky draft, where it's hard to move through the pack, I've seen this in Velo as well. If you can cut a corner, get a little bit of momentum, and then squeeze back into the pack, you can actually move up with less energy than if you stayed in the draft and tried to pedal through the pack. Now, this is not it's not a big deal. You can do racing without it, but it's just going to give you just that extra little percentage marginal gains. And obviously, if you're in a breakaway and you can steer left and right so that no one's got your draft, we all know about that. Now, steering sounds fantastic, but bear in mind, I've seen somewhere, I haven't been able to confirm it, but Pack Dynamics 5 is coming. And what they're planning to do is create so that when someone steers, if you haven't got steering, you will follow them. And this will negate, possibly, maybe, perhaps, it is Zwift, that when people steer to try and break away and not let people draft, that people with non-steering will also then steer behind that rider and get the draft. So what have you got for the Zwift players then? If you haven't got a trainer that does virtual gearing, you don't have that. Your steering, now you can still win plenty of races without steering. There's no reason you have to pay for steering, but is it pay to win? I really dislike the idea of pay to win, especially in a game like Zwift where it's actually a physical effort. So you spend a lot of time training and then someone else might beat you simply because they've bought the device. So if you do have Zwift players, let us know what you think in the comments, if they're worthwhile. Have you had issues with them? I'm worried about sweat buildup. Or if you don't have Zwift players and you don't want to buy them, let us know. One of the reasons why I'd never bought these is because they're still not available in Australia to purchase. You go to the Zwift website and you go to buy them, select postage, and you can't select Australia, which is really effing annoying, Zwift. Get your act together. I don't know what it is, whether it's the Australian standards thing they've got to get or what, but sort it out so that Australians and other countries around the world, I know also can't buy Zwift players, at least give us the option, because at the moment it's in the middle ground, isn't it? Because ZRL doesn't have steering, which I can understand, because I'd be really pissed off if I was in ZRL and I didn't have steering, because it does make a difference, as I've shown. You can, especially for the TTTs, now that ZRL has TTTs, so offshoot, yeah, so they've got 2 TTs every single round. Again, let me know in the comments if you like TTTs in ZRL. I know I love doing TTTs because it's actually one of the few times I feel like in ZRL that I'm actually contributing to the team rather than just being a normal points or sprint race. Like, there's not much tactics you can really do sometimes in Zwift. So if you like this video, I've got more rambling crap going on. This is actually a video near the end where I talk about funny things that happen while people are streaming, which entertain me. I'll try and do a bit more content. I've been a bit lazy lately because Ethan has been sleeping really terribly. I'm also going to be doing the FRR. So if you're not subscribed and you want to see someone just getting smashed day in, day out in FRR, I've got to set up a new stream for that. So hit subscribe and come and laugh at me as I'm dying. My fitness is pretty bad. I'll be racing in, we'll find out in FRR as well. We'll find out because they're doing a new classifying of your rank. Not using ELO, not using ZRS, not using your cut from Zwift. I don't know exactly what it is, but you'll do 2 rounds and then you'll be classified into your correct ranking, which should be interesting. Maybe I'll be at the top of my ranking for once and I'll have a chance, but I definitely won't be at the top category. Thank God. Well, I better not be. Richard, if you put me in the top category, I'll definitely not do the rest of the rounds. All right. So I better go, and everyone have a good holidays, and I'll see you soon. Catch you later.